Welcome to On the Firing Line on the information station, AM 1440 KUHL. Information, education, news, and politics of firearms and ammunition is found here. If you have any questions, call us at 1-888-625-1440. That's 1-888-625-1440.
76-year-old Charles Petit was walking from his Lincolnville, South Carolina home to his vehicle parked in the driveway when a 25-year-old criminal armed with a stun gun attacked the elderly homeowner and attempted to rob him. Petit responded by drawing a .38 caliber revolver and shooting the attacker, killing him. Following the incident, Petit was hospitalized for an injury to his face suffered during the altercation. A local business owner who knows Petit described to a local media outlet as a prince of a fellow and added, "I'm glad in Courier, Charleston, South Carolina, February 10th, 2014.
You are on the firing line with Matt and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the Santa Maria area, give us a call at 928-1440. Wow.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Second Amendment encounter, bringing a taser to a gunfight.
Not so smart.
No, I think 38 beats Mr. Watts 10 times out of 10.
It's kind of funny. People will say, well, he only used a taser. Why did he have to get killed for it?
Mm-hmm. Especially, if you're getting attacked by somebody and they have a taser, that's a weapon. It's just like if they're attacking you with a knife.
And it incapacitates you, which allows them to do whatever they want for you. Yep. So I think it would be within reason to think that they may want to kill you after they've stopped you from being able to defend yourself.
Yep. And it reminds me of a conversation I had with somebody a few months back about getting choked out. If a police officer can get choked out, does he have the right to, protect himself? The answer ultimately ended up being yes, because of what you just said. If you get knocked out and passed out, and then they can take your gun and your keys and go in your house, and by the time you wake up, they're gone.
Yeah, or you're dead.
Or you're dead because they finish you off at their leisure.
Right.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So I think that this guy definitely had every right to protect himself in that manner.
Yeah.
And thank God for this great country that we do have the right in most states to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. Hopefully in California we'll have that right restored back to us. And that's kind of what's going to lead us to our show today. Today we're going to talk about the Ninth Circuit Court ruling on CCWs. And we want to talk about what that means for us here in California. There is a course that must be followed before we have our rights restored, though. Just because of that ruling doesn't mean you can go out and get a CCW right now. And I think that that's something everybody needs to understand. There's a process that's being followed through right now. It has not been committed to law, and we're going to kind of go through a lot of this stuff today to try to bring it out, because I think it's very important that we all understand what it means, where it can go, and stuff like that. It was one of the most liberal courts in the country. They've made a ruling, and that stands very much in our favor. But we'll get more into that with the show today as we go through, because there's a lot to discuss in this. There's a lot to consider, and a little bit of back information as well on this Ninth Circuit Court, so we kind of get an idea of what's going on here. So should have a good one.
Yep, and something it's kind of a step in the right direction. The whole CCW thing. It's kind of good news. The first good news we've been able to deliver on Second Amendment rights in a while. A lot of us are, I'll just say, hot to trot, like, oh, cool, look what's going on, let's go do this. But just like everything else, Joe was saying, there is, they go through their certain ways of getting it done.
Process.
Yeah, the process. Just like they have to go through a process when denying our rights. We wouldn't want them just making a decision, a snap decision, and boom, it becomes, law. Exactly. So the process, for better or for worse, it's there for a reason.
And think of this, is if you do go out and you apply for a CCW right now and you do get turned down, you will forever have to put that on your application if you ever apply again.
That's right. Yeah. If you've been does it ask you if you've applied or if you've been turned down?
It'll literally ask you, have you been denied a CCW before?
And I'm imagining if you put yes, then the people that you're going to now, they're going to say, well, why did you get denied? Why did this sheriff deny you?
Right.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter what you say to that sheriff. It's always going to be in the back of his head that you were turned down
by someone else.
And if you do get into a situation and somebody sues somebody somewhere along the line, that's going to come up.
That's right.
And that's scary. So I wouldn't run out right away and start applying for a CCW. And we're going to kind of go through some of this stuff here a little bit today to try to bring everybody up to speed and exactly what's going on here.
Good.
We should probably take a quick break so that we can spread the next segment out a little bit, because there's a lot of information to get out to everybody. So we'll be right back with you on the firing line to talk more about the Ninth Circuit Court ruling on CCWs.
We'll be back to more of On the Firing Line with Joe and Jim after this.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We'll be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building an AR-15, they have lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies and stuff.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes and have trained thousands of local ladies.
The store is located off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit. Look for the big rifle sign on the freeway as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck, and they're now open on Mondays. America!
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
Now a great word from Santa Maria Motorcycles, formerly Santa Maria Harley-Davidson, located at 2022 Prescott Lane. They are dealers for Honda, Kawasaki, and Harley-Davidson. Grab your family and go see the museum, filled with exciting older bikes that you won't see anywhere else on the Central Coast. As well, they are the #1 motorcycle dealer on the Central Coast with the largest inventory around. Go in and see Martin Buchanan, or you can give him a call at 805-928-3668. You can also go visit them every first Thursday of the month for Bike Night. Starts at 6 p.m. Have a great time with your family at Santa Maria Motorcycles.
We're happy to have a special guest here today at the Plumbing Talk Studios, Jeremy Griffin, owner of Griffin Plumbing in Orcutt. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Jeremy, the reason your plumbing company is called Griffin Plumbing is that your last name is, in fact, Griffin.
Yeah, that's right.
Unbelievable. Griffin, just like the legendary creature with the body of a lion and the wings of an eagle.
Yeah.
What a brilliant move, Jeremy.
I'm a genius.
To name your plumbing company after this majestic creature. A creature known not only to have divine power, but also to be a protector from all things evil.
Well, it is my last name.
Audience, listen carefully. If your plumbing devices are threatened in any way, I implore you to seek the power and protection of the Griffin.
We're always here to help. Just give us a call.
Call the Griffin.
Find us at callgriffinplumbing.com or call 934-1949.
You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440. You are back on the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. You can give us a call, 928-1440, and you can also go to am1440.com, click the Listen Now to listen online, and also check out Matt and Joe's Facebook page, On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe.
All right, we're talking about the Ninth Circuit ruling here on the CCW, which is concealed weapons permits, and it's been an unusual event.
Yes.
that they've actually ruled in our favor for this.
It definitely is the polar opposite of what they usually tell
Yes,
us.
it is good to see that they're looking at our constitutional rights and they're considering something. I don't know how to say it, but to protect us or
logical.
Something somewhat logical. Of course, to be completely logical, you'd think that they'd leave the Second Amendment uninfringed.
Yes,
completely. But since they've ruled, and it seems to be standing throughout all of America's history, that people could, or government agencies, or not even agencies, but the law system within certain states could tell you how you did it. Mm-hmm. They just couldn't stop you from doing it. So here we are with something that's very interesting. We've seen many rulings lately, such as the handgun roster. The roster of certified handguns certified for sale has been found to be within question. We've found that the waiting period has found to be within question. And now we have the CCW. So it all brings things into line. We've seen many of these rulings that have upheld that we have a right granted to us by our Constitution to have firearms, to be able to carry them, and to use them as necessary. The Second Amendment was very clear, even in today's times, that this right should not be infringed, and it's something that we should remember completely. And with that being said, California law essentially leaves most of us law-abiding adults without the ability to carry guns in public for effective self-defense. Period. Yep. I mean, people are barred from carrying guns either openly or concealed. And in this broad policy, the majority holds unconstitutional.
So I think the main part that sticks out to me is the fact that concealed carry or open carry, you can't do either of them, basically.
Right.
So that's where it gets unconstitutional, because that's saying, well, you just can't protect yourself. You cannot carry a tool to protect yourself.
Well, and that's something I've been saying for the longest time. Okay, we had open carry, and during that time of open carry, well, they could pretty much rule however they wanted on CCW because you did have a way to protect yourself.
Yeah, there was a fallback almost.
Right. Now that the politicians, which of course, as usual, didn't think things through because it's going to open up a whole can of worms for them, and their whole anti-gun thing is going to go out the window with all this, you have to think about this. Okay, there's no open carry, so now how do you carry your weapon with you? If you can't, then there's got to be a break in the levee somewhere. And guess where that's going to be? It's going to be in the CCW because that was what was presented first of all in this court ruling. Now, here's the thing. It's going to be a long haul because this court ruling, well, it doesn't necessarily affect the whole state yet. Okay. It only affects one county, and it's that sheriff who was sued because of his good cause letter that needed to be given to him. And so with that, it's going to go back to appeals. And then, of course, from appeals, if it's turned down, it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court. And even if it's not turned down, I believe the state can still take it to the Supreme Court to try to get their way. I'm not 100% sure on that. We need to talk to a lawyer to make sure. You think that one... Jim's over here shaking his head. No.
Right, don't look at me. No,
I'm sorry, but I thought you were a lawyer.
I called and talked to a lawyer before I came on the show, and it sounds like it'll go to the Court of Appeals.
Well, it did. It already did. The appellate court, the Ninth Circuit's the largest court that in
right,
California.
But they're going to send it back.
They sent it back to redirect it.
The county.
To the county itself.
Right.
To redirect it. Now, you're right. It can go to the court system, but it can bypass that court system too, because there's already been a ruling on the 9th. You see, so it can not a bullet, but it can bypass certain appellate courts
and go straight to the Supreme Court.
Well, because they're the ones that, like, say for instance, if it went through let's just do something that's really simple. You got caught stealing, but you're going to appeal that. Okay, so you appeal that to the next level. Right, because you were in civil court. I mean, you were in superior court. So now you'll go to the appellate court of the county, or there. Okay, if they ruled for you, okay,
right,
and said the conviction's overturned, then you have a friend of the court, so to speak.
Right.
But if they appeal it again, to that level, then that level says no, you were convicted. That's it. Well, you can bypass that court because that court already said yes.
On one level, yeah.
On one so that's how it works.
The door was already open, basically.
Right,
so if you want to just go ahead and walk through, you can without knocking, basically.
Because you could say to them, you've already judged this, now we're going back to the court, we've changed some things, and they can take it again. That court can take it again. Say, no, we want to look at it again.
Well, and I think that in California's mindset, you're going to have to watch out for that because this is not over.
One of those things. Now, I'm not positive about this kind of a ruling the way this is, how it's a lawsuit kind of a thing. But I know, like for criminal court, you can buy. Once you've had a ruling from that court that was positive to you, why go back to them?
Well, why test them a second time?
This is a civil case, right?
Right.
So this is a little bit different than criminal.
It might work differently. Yes. Yeah, it may have that step ladder all the way through it because they are asking them rewrite the whole thing.
Right.
So you're talking about a whole new ball of wax, too.
Well, it'll be very interesting what happens. Here, let's go ahead and read some of this article here, and we can discuss some of it because there's a lot of interesting things in here. First of all, a major ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco Thursday threw a major wrench in California's law governing issues of permits to carry a concealed weapon. The court threw out the law, saying it violates the Second Amendment. The lawsuit that led the ruling was filed back in 2009 in San Diego by journalist Edward Peruta. Peruta, who lives part of the year here and part of in Connecticut, has concealed carry permits in Connecticut and other states, but he couldn't get one here. In California, whether you can get a permit to carry a concealed weapon depends on the local sheriff or police chief from a county-to-county situation. The law says you have to show good moral character, and beyond that, here in San Diego, you also have to show good cause to get one. Saying you want one just for self-defense isn't enough. In its ruling, the Ninth Circuit said the county's narrow view of good cause violates the Second Amendment right to bear arms for self-defense.
Because to me, saying that I want one for self-defense, why would you have to tell them any more than that?
That's it, period.
Yeah.
That's a straight to the point.
Exactly. And
why
so,
else would
of course,
you want
they're going
one?
to say, well, you can't just say that. That's what everybody says.
Right,
Well, that's because
exactly.
everybody wants to defend themselves. Nobody
but
wants to be an easy target victim.
But, like, say, for instance, you carry money.
Right.
You know, then that would give you a reason, right? But if they
Right.
turn it down even though you carry money in large sums of money or diamonds or whatever,
Well, then
that'd be stupid.
That's two stupid reasons.
How about I have the Second Amendment, and I hear
That's
all the
good
time
enough.
that
That's what I'm
people-
saying. That's what I'm getting
Yeah.
to. Yeah, hey,
Right.
I got the Second Amendment, and no matter what, this is what I want. I'm a clean, living person.
Right, yeah, exactly. They already established that you're not a criminal, so
Right.
what's the question?
Right.
All right.
The main problem here is that the state of California dictates to every county and every city how they can administer the CCWs. So throughout the state, we have a patchwork quilt, said Mark Holken, owner of American Shooting Center in Kearney Mesa. He hoped the Ninth Circuit ruling will make the patchwork quilt into a uniform statewide law. If they would just come together and say this is going to be a state mandate and this is how you issue them, this is the criteria you use, we wouldn't have this problem, he said. From his home in Connecticut, Edward Peruta said, hopefully this will at least establish some working ground rules for law-abiding citizens who decide to carry a firearm for self-defense.
And it also seems it would make sense to make it less confusing. If it was all under one scope of you should or what you can do and what you can't do,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be so confusing. And
Why is it that people that live in Kern County can go up to their sheriff and get one no problem? But
Yeah.
here we're circumvented by our chief of police or our sheriff of the county.
Yep.
And it's because his mindset is completely different than Kern County. There's no way we're going to get one.
Yeah, and it's, in Santa Barbara County and Santa Maria, how it pretty much nudges right up to San Luis Obispo County. I mean, that's a perfect example. We see an imaginary line changing a view drastically.
Right. And, it's one thing for the state to be able to make a statement. It's another for each county to be its own country and its own state.
Yeah, power hungry, it seems.
Aside from having a uniform statewide law on concealed carry, Mark Holken said there is another very good reason for California to fix its current system. There's 32 other states that are issuing CCWs, and Florida, for example, years ago, when they decided to start issuing CCWs, they had an immediate increase of over $82 million in 1 year from the revenue just from CCWs.
You would think the politicians would take a look at that.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, it's money. I hear they love that stuff.
Well, not in Santa Barbara County, because we could do the fracking thing, and it'd be $1 billion.
yeah, no kidding.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
But the poor Clover.
No, they're talking about this water contamination, which. And I know I'm going to get some letters.
Yeah, but it's a myth. It's not
It's
true.
A myth. I know they've been doing it for 45 years.
Exactly.
Yes, but our state works off of myths.
Well, yeah, it's like I watched a television show, Cagney and Lacey, and they had this thing where they had polluted the water somewhere. And it's never happened through fracking, not zero, nothing. You got to see Frack Nation. They really
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, they open it up and tell you. It's never happened.
It's crazy. All right,
People get delirious.
Judge Sidney Thomas dissented from the majority opinion. He said courts and state legislators have long recognized the danger to public safety of allowing unregulated concealed weapons to be carried in public. The Ninth Circuit's ruling now sends the matter back to a district court here in San Diego for further proceedings.
Let me ask you a question on that, Joe.
Yeah.
It says that there is long standing, right? This is a judge. This is what
Right.
highest level, next level you can get from is, Supreme. Okay? He says that long standing, in other words, court records,
Right.
public safety has said this? Where?
I think
We would know that,
I
wouldn't
don't.
we?
I don't know that it necessarily means that. I think that may be a personal opinion.
That's what it sounds
I
like
got
to
a
me.
feeling that's exactly what it means.
Well, it sounds like the same thought process as if everybody has a CCW, they're just going to start shooting people for no reason because
Yeah,
they
we
have
heard
a
that in
gun.
Chicago,
And,
huh?
That's just not the case. So
That's why in Arizona, at every supermarket, there's a gun battle just to get the can of soup.
exactly. Yep.
All right. The county also has the option of appealing the rule. So you
Okay.
see, they do have the option.
You're right.
So
You're
that's why it still can go to the Supreme Court.
And it still can go through all the
All of
courts,
them.
too.
Right.
All the courts, then. Yeah.
So that's kind of where it stands with all that stuff, and it's important that we understand that. Okay, let's start doing a little bit of background on the Ninth Circuit so that you guys kind of get an idea who they are, why they were making the decision, and stuff like that. Basically, the Ninth Circuit of Appeals is a federal court in the United States charged with hearing appellate cases from across the western region of the nation. It's an extremely large and diverse court, and a number of notable cases in U.S. history have worked their way through the Ninth Circuit Court. Now, as of 2009, 29 judges served on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals at any given time, with courthouses in San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, and Pasadena to provide multiple venues for hearing. It was in 1891 an act of Congress created the Ninth Circuit of Court of Appeals, along with other appellate courts, to meet the needs of the growing legal system of the United States. These courts hear appeals when members of the public are not satisfied with the outcome of cases in the lower courts, which is exactly what's happening here.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Ninth Circuit also maintains a bankruptcy court where a panel of 3 judges preside over bankruptcy.
See, I was misinformed. I thought the Ninth District always was 3.
That's what I thought too, and it was a 2-1 ruling on this. So
how many times?
Here we
yeah,
go.
see, 2-1.
Right.
Yeah.
The large area covered by this appellate court makes it challenging to administer. Alaska, Hawaii, Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, and Montana are all part of the region covered by the court, as are the U.S. territories of Guam and Northern Mariana Territories. This makes for a very diverse region in terms of the makeup of cases. Judges are drawn from all these regions and may have varying interpretations of the law. You got to remember, ladies and gentlemen out there, interpretation is probably the hugest thing of all time when it comes to law, because in law enforcement as well, because it's how somebody interprets the law that gets you where you go.
Yeah, when you literally read the words of the law, you and me might take it differently. So if, the officer A takes it different from officer B, you might have 2 totally different outcomes for the same action.
Right. Sometimes this creates quite a conflict in decision making. So judges who serve on the Ninth Circuit handle everything from Hollywood high drama to questions of rights for Alaska Natives. Cases from California dominate the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Proposals to split the court to make it easier to manage have been made on a number of occasions, but critics point out that this would inevitably result in a court comprised solely of mostly of cases from California, presenting a potential problem in terms of a skew in the kind of cases the court would hear.
But isn't that already like that?
Well,
they're already super liberal,
especially since a lot of the stuff comes from California.
Yeah.
But
definitely
the most liberal court gave us a victory.
Right.
What does that
Exactly.
really say? Joe,
Yeah.
remember that? I think Matt was here, that you ran through all the victories that we've had
Right.
on the Second Amendment
And there's
since 1858.
a whole bunch of them.
No, we've never really lost.
Right. It's just they don't make the victories well known, and they publicize the crap out of the ones that are their victories and our loss.
It's funny how that propaganda works.
Yeah, propaganda.
Like other appellate courts, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals makes its decision public and usually holds public hearings, just like he said. The court maintains a website where it is possible to access recent court decisions as well as information about the court, including the schedule of upcoming trials. Visitors to the court need to follow basic standards of courtroom decorum, including dressing conservatively, complying with requests from bailiffs, and not being disruptive. Judges can choose to eject individuals from the proceedings if they behave inappropriately. So be careful if you go to one of these things to listen. Don't
make sure you wear your penguin suit and just don't talk.
Don't hold a sign up and try to create all kinds of problems. All right, so there's a little bit of history about it. There's what happened. The article before this, of course, was what happened recently. And our next article, after we come back from this break coming up right now, is going to be some of the reasoning behind the Ninth Circuit's right to carry gun opinion. And I think that's where a lot of the meat of this is. And I think you'll kind of get an idea, just like what we were talking about before we read the first two articles, just how this whole mindset came about, where they got their ideas to make this decision, and what it could mean to us. And hopefully some of us will interpret it in such a way that it will benefit all of us.
Yep.
So we'll be right back with you on the firing line.
You're listening to On the Firing Line on the information station.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We will be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building an AR-15, they have lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies and stuff.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes and have trained thousands of local ladies.
The store is located off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit. Look for the big rifle sign on the freeway as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck, and they're now open on Mondays. America!
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
On the air with the Midnight Mystic is one of our regular callers, truck driver Charlie.
Boy, I just seen another one, Midnight Mystic.
Another Griffin, Charlie?
I'm telling you, they're all over the Central Coast now.
How long have you been on the road now, Charlie?
2, 5, 8 weeks, I don't know.
Perhaps you should park the truck and get some sleep, and maybe the Griffins will disappear.
Well, there it is again. I'm going after it.
What does it look like, Charlie?
Holy mackerel. It's got the body of a lion and the head of an eagle.
Is it flying, Charlie?
It's on the side of a white truck.
Is it a Griffin plumbing truck, Charlie?
Could be. I don't know. I'm pulling right up to it.
We seem to have lost contact with Charlie, but I'm sure he'll be okay because Griffins, just like the good folks at Griffin Plumbing, are here to protect and serve. In fact, if your plumbing devices are threatened in any way,
call the Griffin.
Find us at callgriffinplumbing.com or call 934-1949.
You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440. That's right, we're back on the Firing Line. We were talking about the 9th District Court's right to carry concealed weapons and their semi-new view on this whole thing, I guess. And where do we go from here? What's happening?
Wow.
You know? And, I, like me, I still have a lot of questions about this stuff. I'm still a little bit skeptical. So, I mean, imagine you guys are too. Give us a call and ask us, or, if you know anything that we're not talking about, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, I would really like a lawyer to call us up and kind of clear up some of this stuff too. Let us know if we're right on the dot with this or if we're way off base.
Yeah.
Yeah,
give us a jingle, 928-1440, or if you're outside of the Santa Maria area, 1-888-625-1440.
All right, check this out. California law essentially leaves most law-abiding adults without the ability to carry guns in public for effective self-defense. Period.
Mm-hmm.
People are barred from carrying guns either openly or concealed. It is this broad policy that majorities hold unconstitutional.
Yep.
And that's pretty strong words right there. This is something I've been saying for a long time on the show.
Exactly.
As they were getting rid of the open carry.
Open carry. I was just to say, I remember you were saying when open carry, like, if somebody open carries and they can't do either now, they should sue California.
Yeah.
And here we have it. So, I mean, you're ahead of the times there, Joe.
Yay!
Yay.
No.
Yeah.
In D.C. versus Heller, the Supreme Court strongly suggested that the right to bear arms means the right to carry them, but that bans on concealed carry are constitutional. Like most rights, the right secured by the Second Amendment is not unlimited. From Blackstone through the 19th century, cases, commentators, and courts routinely explain that the right was not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever in any manner whatsoever, and for whatever purpose. For example, the majority of the 19th century courts to consider the question held that prohibitions on carrying concealed weapons were lawful under Second Amendment or state analogs. And we can find this in Chandler 5, and a number of other
looks like there's plenty of court
cases
that have seen that. It's just so asinine to me. It's backwards.
Yep. Although we do not undertake an exhaustive historical analysis today on the full scope of the Second Amendment, nothing in our opinion should be kept to cast doubt on the long-standing prohibitions of the possession of firearms by felons and the mentally ill, or laws forbidding the carrying of firearms in sensitive places such as schools, government buildings, and laws imposing conditions and qualifications on commercial sale of firearms. Okay, I mean, I get what they're saying here, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the thing. Second Amendment, it's pretty clear. It's not to be infringed. I don't care what they did before America was done, what courts ruled on then. I don't care what courts ruled on during America's time period, because they could have had it wrong all along.
Yeah, it happens. People do mess up once in a while.
And the truth of the matter is shall not be infringed is pretty simple and clear. It's pretty black and white.
Yep. I mean, and it's right there. As soon as you start reading it, I mean, you just know, okay, well, how do they misinterpret this? It's so simple. It's not, they don't go into huge detail when it says shall not be infringed.
Yeah.
There's a period after that.
The first judges that made rulings on this and said, well, yeah, we can create impositions on this, were probably the guys that started the slippery slope.
Oh, yeah.
To dissension in America.
Do you now, when we talk about our forefathers, Edison and even going back further, those guys, do you think they knew that they were going to have the effect on this? Do you think the guys instituting this stuff were going to realize that they would be,
Yes, I think that they knew exactly that this kind of thing would happen, and that's why they gave us a constitution that said, hey,
good point.
Look, you might have to refresh this every once in a while.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, that's a good point.
So that's why I said, even in today's times, it hasn't changed. And people that think today's world, we don't need these kind of things, I tell you what, just look at Mexico. Look at Mexico right now, where they've had to disarm their police because their police were working for the cartels.
Yeah.
Look at the people that are allowed to carry guns now to fight against corruption. They're the regular townspeople.
Yeah. The vigilantes, yeah.
And yeah, we call them vigilantes.
We call them vigilantes. That's all what the media is calling them,
Right.
So I guess that's not necessarily the correct. Maybe it is the correct term, but that's what they're being called.
They are the watch.
Yes.
And that's what a vigilante.
Term.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. So it's amazing, the concept. You know what gets me is like what we were talking about earlier, is what the idea of public safety. You know what? Kiss my Rosie, because the truth of the matter is, you cannot make laws on the ideal of public safety because that circumvents freedom.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we're not idealistic. That's not how it gets done. If we just made laws on the ideas, I mean, we could go very askew.
Hell, if we wanted to live on the notion of a perfect world, we'd all be communist.
Duh.
I don't know about that one.
But think about that. That's what communism was based on, was a perfect world where everybody had the same thing and everything was just glory peachy keen. Well, communism didn't work, did it?
Yeah.
Well, according to NBC, it does. I mean, you've read that stuff this week, right? I mean,
Oh, my God.
All right. No, communism does not work.
All right. Thus, if California law had banned concealed carry but allowed open carry, which some states have historically done, That wouldn't have violated the Second Amendment, and if California law had banned open carry but allowed concealed carry, perhaps requiring a license that pretty much all law-abiding adults could get, that too might well have been constitutional, on the theory that it has still left free people to carry guns, but just regulated the manner of carrying. But as the Ninth Circuit majority points out, a general prohibition on all carrying of guns in public is more than just a way of regulating the manner of carrying.
Yeah.
A flat-out ban on concealed carry in a jurisdiction permitting open carry may or may not have infringed the Second Amendment right. The passage from Heller clearly bears on the issue, which we need not decide, but whether a state restriction on both concealed and open carry overreaches is a different matter. And to that question, Heller itself furnishes no explicit answer, but the three authorities in cites for its statement on concealed carry laws do. You cannot bar both forms. It's pretty simple.
You know, one of the things I was thinking about as you were reading that, we have read on here multiple times of how we read one today, how somebody shot somebody else in self-defense, you know?
Right.
But how many times have we read on here where somebody wasn't or didn't have, because it's not reported. It's not reported like that at all.
It happens so many times.
Well, just I was going to say, not only that, the thing of it is because, you know, they think that's natural. Okay, guy broke into the house, killed people.
Yeah, that's the story.
But what if they would have had a gun? See, then it becomes a Second Amendment thing, see?
Yep.
But we don't, you know, that's the thing that just drew my ire with the guy in Chicago. Oh, yeah, we'll have gunfights in the middle of the street.
Yep, exactly.
Well, not now. Why would they be then? You know,
right.
That's illogical thinking. That's I'm thinking to myself, what if they wrote down every week, oh, yeah, there was 3 murders this week by break-ins or whatever it is.
Maybe they think so little of the California public that, you know, unlike the other states of the great nation of America, California's people are so dumb that they're just going to pull out their guns and start shooting everybody. So we can't have that here in California.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, is that what they're saying?
It's almost like it's a different standard here. You know?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it's more than that. I think we're going to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't protect yourself. You might shoot somebody.
That's why we're
taking
trying
to shoot you.
And that's the popular opinion, though.
I agree.
That, you have a gun, you're probably going
to
shoot somebody.
That tells you the truth. I mean, let's really lay it out on the line. That's it.
It does.
You're going to shoot somebody. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, I'm going to shoot somebody if they're going to kill me.
What the heck am I supposed to do? No, I'm just going to shoot tin.
I'm going to fix him a drink, actually.
All right, come on in.
Yeah.
Take everything I worked really hard for. Oh, by the way, you can kill me because I'm not going to shoot you.
Yeah.
I don't have a gun.
I'm a victim.
But it's true. That's what they're thinking.
It is, and it really is. I mean, just yesterday I was talking to a friend of a friend, the first time I met this person in my whole life, and my buddy's wife said that, you know, this is Matt. He works at a gun shop, excuse me. This guy that I just met immediately started making comments. Well, whoa, don't shoot me. Like, whoa, man, don't take it. And he said that probably 5-10 times in maybe the hour I was with him. And by the last couple times he said it, I was seriously pissed. I was mad. I was like, I got to get out of here because this guy's going to raise my blood pressure.
And he meant to do that.
I know. Of course he did. Of course he did. Hey, and I didn't fight back on it. I was quiet, but now I am.
I was at my sister's house for it was a barbecue, and one of her friends there, who was a comedian in Los Angeles, she goes, "So what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I do a radio show on firearms." She goes, "Oh, that's not good discussion for a barbecue. Let's not talk." I was like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah, they immediately think it's going to be something negative,
right?
And it's like,
it's construed as guns are negative, and so we can't talk about that. That's inappropriate.
Yeah, guns kill people.
Yep. Hey, we have a caller online, John. Welcome to On the Firing Line.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good. How about you?
I'm just fine. Let me throw some confusion into the game because it confuses me also.
All right.
But this court is the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Right.
Key word is appeals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's now been appealed.
No, a case has been appealed against San Diego.
Right.
San Diego has now lost the case in the appeals court.
Right.
So this sheriff, and it's directed at him, he has 3 choices. He can go ahead and institute a new policy. He can request that it be heard by a panel of 11 federal court Ninth circuit judges be heard.
Okay, so instead of the 3, it
And
will be a
that's-
panel of 11?
That's what I was trying to say earlier. Is you can bypass everything and redo it again, and
He
just
can
have them right.
He can request it can be heard by a panel
Right.
of 11
11.
judges from this circuit court, of which this circuit court covers numerous states, from Alaska to Hawaii to Washington, Montana.
Yeah, we just said all that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then if his third choice is he can bypass that and request that it be taken to the Supreme Court for a decision by them.
Right.
And most likely he would request, and I'm just theorizing here, he would request a Supreme Court hearing because this ruling is actually in conflict with other circuit courts throughout the country. And there are 13 circuit courts, federal circuit courts.
So, like New York's ruling against firearms and stuff like that, or in Chicago area, those the circuit courts that rule over those guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to go to the Chicago
They ruled
area.
opposite of this. So now that you have a conflict of hearing without precedence, you have to have a supreme judgment, and that would be the Supreme Court.
Right.
But the one in Chicago that we talked about earlier, they had the same thing. They ruled against that too. So that you can have a concealed weapon carry in the Chicago area because their courts ruled that. That's what we were talking about before. The police chief of Chicago said, "Yeah, we're going to have shootouts in the streets now."
And that never happened. Well,
Yeah.
they've always had shootouts in the
Well, yeah,
streets, so that was no news.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I guess they missed the St. Valentine's Day massacre or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you made an interesting statement, though. Okay, here's the thing. You said that this is against this sheriff, and now he can change his policy.
Yes.
This doesn't change what's going on for the rest of the state. It only
It sets
changes.
precedent. What it does is it tells the rest of the state that the policy that the sheriff has in line is unconstitutional.
Okay.
So that means they would have to come in compliance with the constitutionality of their laws.
Okay, but would it have to be that everybody would have to bring lawsuits up against the different counties to make them do that, or to bring it up against the state to make the state change the law?
No, because the counties they'll set a standard, and the sheriffs or chiefs of police who issue the CCWs can still have guidelines, but they have to be within the Constitution and within the court's rulings.
Okay.
So it won't be arbitrarily you have to sue each county.
Good, because we were wondering
That's
about
my
that.
understanding, okay? So
Well, you
I'm
cleared
just
up
throwing-
one thing. I thought, too, that they can go ahead and redo it, but they can bypass all the courts. And I was pretty sure of that. I wasn't really positive because I know in Superior Court you can do that. You can take it right back to the next highest level court, or right back to the same court, and say, "Look, we want more of a judgment on this." And that's what I was thinking. So they could bypass everything and just go to the 11. Is that what you're saying? 11 people rather than 3, right?
right, they can request a hearing of 11 federal court judges from this district.
Interesting.
It is an
But
interesting thing, though.
Then here's where you get confused in my mind, anyway. If you go to trial for a criminal offense, let's just go to murder.
Okay.
And you're convicted of murder. You go straight to prison, but you get an automatic appeal. And you have to start your sentence and you have to start your punishment as soon as you're judged. And you have to wait for the appeal to overturn that punishment. So that, to me, that says that the sheriff has to issue the CCW until that ruling is overturned.
I agree with you. I think so too. I agree. I think it's
See,
true.
that's something. Okay, when I talked to a lawyer earlier on the phone before I got on the show, he said that
Where is he? What county was he from?
He's right here out of Santa Maria.
So he's a paralegal, probably.
That was awesome.
Oh my god. Yeah, 'cause he goes, it's not committed as law yet, so it's like it's at this stage where it doesn't really mean anything yet. And I was kind of confused by that because the whole thing is confusing. And I tried Googling and doing all kinds of stuff on the internet to try to find things out, and all I got was bonjour.
But what John was just saying, I have heard before. I'm not, believe me, I'm not a lawyer at any stretch of anybody's imagination, even my own. But the fact that I've known, I file things and I used to do things like this. So I knew that, hey, wait a minute. You could bypass stuff and you can go a different direction. And one of the things I failed to remember is, this sheriff can comply now.
He's compelled to by the judge, right?
Right.
Right. It's just like same-sex marriage. We voted no. It was against the law. The federal court said, no, you can have it. And then the next day, everybody was getting married.
Yeah, that's true. They had 48 hours,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So here's a question.
If we use that as our guideline, you go apply for a CCW right now, and they deny you based on you didn't present good cause, then they're open to liability too.
That's what I was thinking earlier. We should file suits just to open it up.
Okay.
Are you following me?
Yeah, I am following you, and I totally get what you're saying. It's starting to get a little bit clearer for me.
Yeah, the fog is going away from me, too. Yeah, I agree.
Because this is, like I said, it is so, it's so hard to decide exactly what you can and can't do on this.
Yep.
And that's what I wanted to believe, is that immediately it should be it's unconstitutional. So guess what? You can't do that anymore, which means now you get to do this until it's overturned again by somebody.
or until our elite president signs an executive order or something.
I mean, the king.
Whoa. You can guarantee he's closely watching.
But that's the way I look at it with my limited experience with law.
Yes, very limited, huh?
Thank you, John. We really appreciate your input. It really helped me out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Don't take what I said as gospel, because I could be totally on the wrong track. But that's how, from everything I've ever heard and observed, it works.
Okay.
Well, and it makes sense. Logically, it makes sense.
Exactly.
And don't forget, there are 29 judges on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see which 11-man panel shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look, to be serious on this one, this has so based on the Constitution and the states that are represented by this Ninth Court. That should be a pretty conservative decision.
Okay, so that means we have a great chance of it going in our favor because of that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's just like you said earlier, we had a decision by a federal judge talking about the waiting period being unconstitutional.
Right.
Okay, and then one of the judges in this decision, in his writings, to paraphrase him, he said that our law is BS.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, you're going to read it here in a second, right? The actual ruling.
Actually, I've got no. I didn't actually.
Well, one of the things that I didn't like, John, maybe you might be able to say something about this, is one of the judges, the only dissenting judge on there, said that, and we were making fun of it, but it said that it was Sidney Thomas said, dissenting judge from the majority opinion. He said that courts and states and legislatures have long recognized. I mean, he didn't even state precedence or court fact. And he dissented because it was, in his words, unregulated concealed weapons in public safety and danger.
Well,
what he's saying in my mind is that the counties have set precedents for their procedures. But those precedents, that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong there. But when they set a precedents sometimes overturn.
Right.
Okay, and they have to be appealed. So where he's coming from, you have to ask him.
It's a matter of personal opinion.
That's what I thought. It was a personal opinion rather than a court-directed opinion. In other words, we have these laws and these things stating this. He didn't say that.
Because
it seems like it's an opinion.
If you really go through a matter of long standing, it should be by the rulings of the Supreme Court throughout all of our countries.
Not by people's opinions.
Right.
Exactly.
And even that, like I said before, the first judges that ruled against our Second Amendment and decided to put little curves on it here and there were the guys that started the slippery slope.
Yeah.
Well, politics are a slippery slope.
Yes, they are.
That's the truth.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, guys, I'm going to let us go.
Thanks,
John.
And you have a good day, and maybe I helped you out, and maybe I just steered us wrong.
No, I really appreciate your input, and I hope that you continue to call as you have before.
Yes.
So
okay, tell Matt hello, and we got some good deals going.
All right.
Bye.
Great.
Oh, man.
That was awesome. John's been a longtime part of the show and brings in a lot of information for this show to help keep it going.
Yep.
And we want to say thank you, John, out there.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a good one to have on our side for this stuff, even though we might get in some pretty hot debates.
Yeah, because he doesn't always agree with us.
But, that helps us bring to the show.
He's a true
week.
American, 100%.
Yep.
All right. We've only got, 4 minutes left. Yep. I think we should leave this open for a little bit more discussion. I hope that somebody else calls. Did we lose a commercial in this somewhere?
No, we did our two.
We did.
But
okay.
we usually sometimes we do three.
Sometimes we
give an
round.
extra bonus round, right?
All right. Well,
I like the idea that they've ruled on it and it should be enacted as it happened.
Exactly. I mean, I would love to think, hey, come Monday, anybody who wants to go apply can go apply.
And if the let's say our local chief of police here, if we go in and we ask for our CCW and he denies us, and then we have a lawsuit against him and he can be held liable.
Yep.
How does that work for us? And how does that work for you? Again, I tell you, be careful, because if you're denied and you have to mark that down on any applications, that could be a scary thought. But here we are with the question.
Exactly.
Should we be applying? Should we go and do it? I really wish that we had a couple of lawyers call in during the show. I know there's a couple out there that listen to us.
We'll like to seek a couple out next week.
I think that's a great idea, because John's right. This is his perception of it, and as much as we believe him and stuff like that, you never know. And I tend to think that John has a lot of credibility because he does work or has worked in the law areas of things in life for many years and stuff like that. So he has a pretty good understanding how these things work. And he's right. You get taken right to jail.
Yeah, exactly.
And then your appeal starts.
You start getting punished right then and there. That was a good point that he made.
Yes. And, another thing, again, this was a case that happened in San Diego. This is something that can affect the whole state. Whether that sheriff now has to comply, I think he's right. John's right in saying that all the rest of the police and sheriffs are going to have to start complying. Otherwise, they can be found violating the Constitution. And can you imagine the liabilities for all these cities and counties and stuff like that? This is interesting. We should call the chief of police, I think, this week, so that maybe we can have some information, or maybe even get him on the show with a lawyer or something to talk about it next week, because it would be interesting to hear their side of the story, to hear if they're willing to change their mind, willing to accept that this is the way it's supposed to work.
And, another thing I'm curious is, for a police chief standpoint who issues these, now the big thing is liability. If I issue this to the person, am I going to get sued? Well, is it going to switch? Is it going to go on its ear? And the liability now is, if I don't issue this person, it's going to be unconstitutional. Is that going to be?
I'm going to get sued either way is what he should be thinking about.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
So you might as well give it out.
Right. And of course I'm not, gunning for the police chiefs or anything. I think, but I would like them to be more fearful of the Constitution than be more fearful of a lawsuit from some family.
Amen. Because the Constitution's where it's at, and they took an oath to uphold the Constitution 100%.
Yep, exactly.
Just like our politicians who keep violating our constitutions. And I stress again, I guarantee you, De Leon and all these guys that got rid of open carry never once thought about this ever happening.
Yeah, this
never
is
thought about down the road.
Yeah.
And they want to be called leaders?
My foot.
Ow. Yeah, big time shot in the foot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, but it is a step in the right direction. Let's keep that momentum going in the correct direction, and we can probably, hopefully pick up some ground on this stuff where we've lost it before.
Absolutely.
So next week, hopefully we'll have some better info for you on the firing line with Matt and Joe.